Hi, Georgia Swimming. My name is Veronica Burchell. I'm your host of our Thank You video series. This week, we have the pleasure of introducing Clarice Wassmuth. Is that how you say it?
Yes, Clarice Wassmuth.
Wasmuth. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm going to butcher that, but thank you so much for correcting me. I appreciate it. So welcome to the show today. We really appreciate having you on. Can you tell us a little bit about your background in swimming and how you got to where you are today?
Yes, thanks for having me. Okay, so for USA Swimming, and my family joined the Dynamo Swim Club in 2010, and I swam when I was young. And so I was sitting up in the stands, and I think I sat in the stands for one swim meet. And I thought, I cannot sit still like this. These things are long. They were so long. And so I became a timer. And while I was a timer, I actually met an official. And so he was said to me, you should become an official. And he goes, it'll give you something to do during these long meets. And so back in 2010, I became a USA stroke and turn judge. And I have been doing it ever since. So I have 3 kids who swim, and 1 now swims in college, and 2 still swim at Dynamo. And I love it. So I, as I became an official and started working the meets, you get to meet the other officials in Georgia. It's kind of like a family, and you get to know them and their children. For those of us who love swimming, there's all kinds of fun trivia that we keep up with. Definitely. And so there's a nice structure inside of it, kind of gives you something to work for. And so, I also, my kids swam at Gwinnett County. And so they needed leadership, and they needed someone to lead the officials for Gwinnett County. So I started there, kind of worked my way up as starter referee. I was their rules chair for a few years. And then it just transferred over to leadership positions within Dynamo, and then also for our LSC. So I was a teacher at Georgia State. I taught a master's class for nurse practitioners. Wow. And it was online. And so my very first class teaching stroke and turn judges for officials, 5 people signed up. 1 person showed up. And I said, there is a better way to do this. And so that's when I came up with the idea of doing online classes for officials. And we started with GoToMeetings. And this, of course, was like in 2015. So way before COVID, way before virtual was cool. And I said, this has to be convenient for parents. I'm a mom of 3 and have a full-time job. And if I'm going to volunteer, it needs to be as easy as possible and as fun as possible. And so that was kind of my goal, was to make that way for parents, so that they could have fun while they were at the swim meets, while their kids were swimming, and make it easy for them to volunteer.
Definitely. No, that's amazing. And I know that there's been a lot of really good positive feedback with the online trainings and stuff like that. I know that John Pepper has talked very highly of all the stuff that you've been doing. So that's amazing. And so did you swim yourself or no?
I did swim myself. I lived in Statesboro, Georgia from when I was 5 years old. And so the USA team, I think, was called the Seas back then. And we swam out of Georgia Southern University. Back then I don't think it was even a university. We swam out of Hanner Fieldhouse. And it was a very little team in a very small town. So in fact, I remember, I want to say it was 1980, or maybe been 81 or 82. We came to the big city of Atlanta. And I remember standing in that Dynamo facility as a little girl, holding onto the handlebars, watching Tracy Calkins swim in that pool. And so I have always had a love of swimming.
That's amazing. That's awesome. I love hearing that. So, I always kind of I love to ask kind of about, you know, what keeps you motivated within the role that you're doing, because, you know, I've been interviewing, you know, coaches and officials and stuff like that. So as an official, you know, I know you kind of spoke about your family and how, you know, they swam or are swimming and that sort of thing. I do apologize, I might have missed an important piece of information there, but yeah, can you kind of go into what keeps you motivated and why you absolutely why you're still doing what you're doing?
Well, for us, it really became a family sport.
Hmm.
And I really do think that swimming does so much more than just a sport. But I joke with people and say it's our football. My husband may not quite agree, but it definitely was and is the family sport. And so it's something that we did together. In a day when everyone is so busy and going in different directions, it was nice that we were all going in one direction. One of my favorite memories was a state swim meet. It was in the summertime, and the youngest was on the block. The oldest was timing. Both my husband and I were officiating, and the middle child was kind of over to the side, eating a peanut butter and jelly, you know, resting, waiting to be able
Oh,
to come
yeah.
back that evening. So, you know, it was
Hmm.
something that we could all do together, and everyone kind of knows it, understands it from the start to the finish. And so we
Definitely.
support each other
Hmm.
with it.
No, that's amazing. I love hearing that. I feel like it's really something that bonds everybody in a family. I know personally, coming from a family of swimmers too, myself. Both my parents were coaches. My dad still coaches, and my mom was a coach at one point. And all my siblings swam, so I totally get that, and I can relate a lot to that as well. So you kind of talked a little bit about your favorite memories. Are there any others that kind of stand out throughout your time? I know you've been doing this for a little while, so there's probably a lot that you could talk about.
Yeah. Well, one of the ones that still tickles me to this day was, again, it was one of those state swim meets, and my kids are spaced out enough that, you know, I volunteered at every single session for so many years. And so the oldest had gone home with my husband, and the middle child had gotten dropped off. And so in between sessions, you know, he was sitting there eating his peanut butter and jelly. And I was just kind of standing behind him, behind the stands, just kind of being quiet and being present. And he had a friend who was just dancing up and down on the bleachers, which of course was pretty dangerous. But he was
Oh,
going up
yeah.
and down them, and he turned around and goes, "Whoa, whoa," because he saw me with my white and blue and realized I was an official. And my son goes, "Oh, it's just my mom. Don't worry about it." And the boy goes, "Oh, you've got an official mom." And so I
Oh.
always like to joke that I'm an official mom, not just a regular mom.
I
So
love that.
I've got my certification as mom, but you know, it's, you know, just kind of being down there. I don't know, being part of the teams and being helpful for the coaches, being helpful for the swimmers. Um, it's just fun. You
Do
know,
you think
it's
that, yeah, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
yeah, it's just fun.
I was gonna say, do you think there are certain characteristics that you have that make it maybe easier to do? I know that's kind of a weird question, but I'm curious.
Well, I'm not a good sitter. So I was never good sitting in the stands. You know, there's two sides to officiating. There's that what we call the dry side, and there's the wet side. And the
Mhm.
dry side are usually your admin officials, and they run the computers and
Yeah.
timing operators, and they keep their shoes dry, and they usually get to sit. And then there's the wet officials, and we like to move and stand and not sit. So
Mhm.
I think part of it is just liking to be busy during
Mhm.
that. I think um, you know, I come at everything with best intent.
Mhm.
So I just, you know, when a swimmer comes to me and they missed their race, or a coach comes to me to talk about a call or DQ, I look at everything as everyone's coming to me with best intent, and I just
Mhm.
start at a place of curious and
Mhm.
really seek to try to understand, you know,
Mhm.
what their they're sharing with me, at the foundation of it all is the rules, and trying to be fair for all swimmers. But I think, coming at it from a place of calm and peace, because I know swimmers and coaches, especially sometimes when we are at bigger meets, there's a lot of adrenaline and excitement on the deck. So
for sure. I was just curious because I know that, well, first of all, I really like hearing that you kind of come at it with like a very empathetic kind of standpoint. Would you say that's correct?
yes.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like that. And I think that that's so important, like you said, especially at the high level meets. I mean, I know, as being a swimmer myself, or former, I guess I'm a swimmer now, but having been a swimmer at one point, I've seen different coaches and stuff in certain situations, kind of just not hostility in terms of it being necessarily like all negative, but they're just so excited about certain things. And then, when there's a certain call that maybe, they're like, oh, that was iffy or something. I know that it can be a little intense. Intense is the right word.
Yes.
So yeah, no, I think that's really good. And, I mean, you kind of have to be that person to almost, just bring them back down a little bit. And so I think that's amazing. That's really important.
And the golden rule is the swimmer gets the benefit of the doubt. And there's a lot of layers within USA officiating to give that swimmer the benefit of the doubt. And if any one of the people or officials during that process have doubt, then we'll throw that call right out. So, that's the thing, is asking questions, and trying to be as fair and stick to the rules, and be consistent.
Definitely. So kind of, I'm going to jump back a little bit because I know that you were talking about it being a big family kind of thing. So this is a pretty funny question, I guess, but so you officiated your kids, right?
Yes.
How is that? How is that?
I know what you want to ask me. You want to ask me if I've DQ'd them, haven't?
I actually wasn't gonna ask that. I was just more thinking about because I know that some coaches are also parents and they do coach their kids, but I've never asked an official about that, so I'm curious.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, all three of mine have been DQ'd by me at some point in time in their swimming careers.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a learning opportunity.
It is,
and
sure.
I think it's with swimmers, coaches, and triangles, sometimes coaches say something over and over and over again in practice, and the kid keeps doing it.
Yeah.
My son had hands past his hips, right? And the coach tried and tried and tried. So she couldn't wait till he was in that swim meet because she knew he was going to get disqualified. And she was hoping that feedback would then, she could actually use it in practice.
Definitely.
To make the correction to his stroke. But that was, it was funny because that was one of those funny little stories where him and his best friend were, diving in off the block. Both of them, I disqualified both of them. When they got out of the water, I squatted down and I said, I love you both very much. You're disqualified for this. You're disqualified for this. Go talk to the coach. And then the timer next to me goes, I want you to DQ my kids. Because I was so nice in how I did it. Of course, my son told the coach it didn't count because it was just his mother.
Oh my gosh, that is too funny. I know that. Yeah, no, I mean, truly, I've had some experiences myself, where I wish an official, and they weren't outright mean or anything like that, but I wish they would have said it maybe a little differently whenever I got disqualified. I know it can be, especially for younger kids, it's all about the way you present it. So I think that's good. And just for the record, I wasn't going to ask if you DQ'd your kids. I just it's interesting to hear about that, dynamic. And you're so right. It is such a learning opportunity, especially for young swimmers, because, you're right. They're not going to get it right away if they're not kind of, I don't want to say consequences, but just I guess there is consequences in a way because you won't. Anyway.
Right. And I think, for every official, one of our jobs too is, we're impartial,
Yeah.
for our families and for our teams. We're there for all of the swimmers. And so I think, that was one thing, and it was easy though, because as your kids get older, they want to have less to do with you anyway. I think they always liked my presence on deck, but they knew that if I was behind their block, that's not a good thing. I was never coming to just say, I love you. If I'm behind your block, it's usually to let you know that you were disqualified, because I would save the I love yous and great jobs and how did you think your swim went to later. So, we, but again, it's fun, only because, it helps you as a parent. I got to know, their friends, and, kind of share in that excitement of the
Yeah.
team and their friends. And so like, even when you go to a high school state meet or another meet, they all know you. And it's kind of nice to be, part of that world, even from a distance as a parent.
Definitely. I can, my mom always worked the computers and stuff at swim meets and everything. And I know whenever I was at swim meets, I think that a ton of people can relate to this, like I would always like run up and like go find her like right before my race or right after my race. So I think it's also fun for a kid's standpoint, to have, obviously I know that parents are, more or less required to volunteer in some ways, but when there's consistency with that at meets, it's really fun to have your parent there anyway. So that's awesome. I love that. So kind of switching back a little bit, are there any really cool places that you've been that officiating has taken you that you're like stand out?
I have gotten to do some national decks, and that's been a lot of fun. So I have really stuck to more of the Atlanta area. I did I did officiate up at the Baltimore Club, Baltimore Aquatics, I want to say, back I think, I can't remember when that was, and that was fun. They had like a volleyball court that was very close to it, so there was like all this sand, and we wore Hawaiian shirts.
Oh, fun.
And so it was a little bit different. And then I've done, officiating like at Huntsville, and Nashville, some of the futures meets. I think, when you go and you officiate at national meets, junior nationals and nationals, and it really gives you an appreciation, especially when you watch all those, just great swimmers.
Definitely.
And I think if you're a swim parent, or if you are a swimmer, you or a coach, what these kids have invested. As I watch the Olympics now, I know the hours in the pool. And so I guess you just want so much for all of them to be able to accomplish whatever they can possibly accomplish, because they've worked so hard. I think swimming teaches you so much more than just a sport. Hard work pays off. Persistence, not giving up. It's okay to lose, because you lose more races than you win, always. And so, but you never really lose, right? Because you're always moving forward, and that's that's the goal, right? To keep moving forward, to keep trying. And I think that in a world where things are a lot faster than the world I grew up in, where everything's a lot more immediate, for you guys to participate in a sport that's not immediate, hours of work.
Oh yeah, it takes a long time. Yeah.
I think it is going to give you guys a skill and an edge as you grow up, and as you find your careers and you find your passions, that maybe some of your peers may not have, because they didn't have that experience. Definitely.
I think I know we're getting away from kind of officiating and all that sort of stuff, but this is such a good message. It is something that is both a life skill in terms of literally being able to save your life swimming in general, and then it's also it builds character, it builds, you know, all these essential lessons and values that people in other sports definitely learn to a certain extent, but not in the same way, because like you said, results aren't immediate. They take months, years to accomplish. And yeah, and it's awesome that, you know, in your position you kind of get to see that process. And also being in the Atlanta area, do you, I mean, I'm sure you see the same kind of swimmers, so you get to see their progress meet to meet, year to year. That's a really unique thing.
Well, it's really neat to watch. I mean, especially like this Olympic year, you know, getting to see, you know, 3 people from Dynamo who,
Oh
you
my
know,
gosh, yes.
who actually, you know, you know, they were there swimming in the pool as little boys, you know, when I was officiating, and now they're on this world stage. You know, it's very cool to see that. And I think, you know, being part of Gwinnett County, that was also something we saw and we're very proud of, all of the swimmers that from Gwinnett County who had made it to Olympic trials and made it to the Olympics too. So Georgia's a really impressive state, and when it comes to swimming. And so it's really fun. It's fun to be part of that. It's fun to be part of that.
Definitely. So to switch gears a little bit, how, you know, outside of swimming and everything, because obviously we could talk about swimming for hours, but I'd love to hear just a little bit more about you and your, you know, kind of your life outside of being an official, because, you know, you're not just an official. I'd love, what are some of your passions? And yeah, we'd love to hear.
So I'm a nurse practitioner. I've been a nurse practitioner for 21 years.
That's amazing.
I work for United Healthcare. I actually work for Optum, which is a United Healthcare company. I was a nurse practitioner, and then I was a manager, and now I'm on their clinical education team. So I teach nurse practitioners to do the job that I did and managers to do the job that I did. So that passion for teaching and helping people is very much like, it kind of coincides with, you know, also what I do for Georgia Swimming as the Georgia officials training coordinator. You know, helping officials be that stroke and turn starter, deck referee, you know, helping officials move through those different roles and teach them how to do that. So I work in nursing homes. That is what we do. We take care of residents and members who live in nursing homes. I'm very passionate about the elderly. It has been a very hard, you know, last 18 months for that group. One of the organizations that I volunteer for and every year try to raise money for it is the Alzheimer's Association. You know, dementia is a terrible disease, and well, it's actually Alzheimer's disease that, you know, and it causes dementia. But, you know, to get to the end of your life and, you know, not know your families and your loved ones and be able to reflect upon all the things that you accomplished, you know, I think we need to strive and work for a cure. And the way we do that is, you know, try to raise money to get more research and make an impact. So that's one of the things that I do outside of swimming and family. But I'm a nurse and a nurse practitioner at heart, and an educator and a leader. And I love what I do. So I have a very full life.
Definitely sounds like it. I think that's amazing that you have all these passions, and I'm glad that you can, you know, translate one, you know, kind of your love for teaching, educating, and that into to both sides of your life, you know, like not only a nurse practitioner and educating there, and then, you know, officiating and everything like that. No, I think that's amazing. So you said you have 3 kids, right? 3?
Yes, 3.
Awesome.
I have my oldest swim. Yeah, she swims at Villanova. And again, what a blessing to be able to go to college. And her freshman year was a very different freshman year because of COVID, but she had an immediate family.
I'm so sorry. I apologize. Yeah, no, that was my dog. I apologize.
Okay.
I'm gonna try and cut that out. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay. But anyway, she goes to Villanova, and because of swimming, she had that immediate family. And, their culture and competitiveness and fun and community and caring for each other, I couldn't have asked for more. So, and then I have two who will be in high school this year. So,
Oh, awesome. That's so great. I know that probably going to college around this time is crazy. And I mean, I feel fortunate enough that I was kind of able to get out of there before things kind of really started, getting crazy. And anyway, I'm glad that she had that family right away, and that's I feel like that's so important. And it's something that as swimmers I think that we I don't think we take it for granted, but in a way, you think about all these other students that go to college, and they don't outright have that like sense of community right away. So it's kind of like, anyway, it's just so special, and I'm really glad she had that. That's awesome. So yeah, as we're wrapping things up, I just wanted to kind of say thank you, because I know that you do so much for our LSC, and you're a huge part of educating, like you said. But we recognize it too, and you do a wonderful job. So I just wanted to just say thank you from the LSC. We are so appreciative of you. And if you have anything else you'd like to add, feel free.
Well, thank you. And the last thing I'll add is, if anybody's listening and wants to be an official, they can send me an email and I will get them on that path. It is a great volunteer job. It's a lot of fun to do. And for so many reasons, which we talked about tonight, but just reach out to me and I will help you become a stroke and turn judge or an admin official. And I thank you for your time. And I thank you guys also at Georgia Swimming for all you guys do for all the swimmers, the coaches, and the officials, because I know how hard you all work, and I greatly appreciate it.
Thanks. Yeah, no, thank you so much, Clarice. I really appreciate your time tonight, and I will be talking with you soon.
Okay.
Take care. Have a good night. Bye.
Good night. Bye.